Hey, what's going on, No Nation? CJ Wilson here with DoakTalk. I just want to go ahead and give you guys the recap to the Clemson game and just talk it out a little bit. And of course, we're going to open things up as far as the phone lines towards the end because I want to hear you guys' thoughts on, I guess, just what you're feeling about the situation, how the team played, the quarterback, and things like that. Brock Glenn's first start of the season, et cetera, et cetera. But so end up finishing the game. Ended up being 29-13 versus the Clemson Tigers. FSU, it was a chance. They had opportunities to actually, possibly make it a. It was making a better game and actually compete to win the game towards the end. But we're going to go ahead and go position by position. Well, not position by position, but offense versus defense. We'll start off with offense. And just talk about the offense a little bit. Another game held on the 300 yards. We had 250 total yards, 22 rushing yards. Just speaking about rushing yards and how the offensive line was looking. It was a point in the the fourth quarter rather. I think we had like -1 rushing yards, and just about to post a clip. I mean, these 22 rushing yards are pretty much an indictment of the game. We had less than that. I think Brock Glenn had a run at the end rather to kind of get us to 22 rushing yards. I think it was at 13 at a certain point. But this offensive line has, and yeah, I took a picture at the game just to kind of differentiate, and you can see the difference. Like it's crazy. It's night and day. I'm going to get to our defense in a second, but just look at those yards as well from Clemson. But 13 rushing yards at that point in time with 2.5 minutes left in the second quarter in the fourth quarter rather is nuts. But just speaking about the offensive line in general, this has not been a good unit at all, to say the least. Last year, well, 2022 was probably the best version of the offensive line we've seen. Last year, it took a dip as well, but not to this extent. It wasn't as good as we thought it would be in 2023. Granted, we had Jordan Travis, some athletes around him, Trey Benson, and things like that to kind of mask certain things within the offensive line. But nonetheless, wasn't that great. But excuse me, it's still coming into this season though. It was expected to be a strength of the team because we have so much returning guys coming back. So much experience, snap starts, and things like that. Then you add Richie Leonard, who transferred from Florida. That's probably one of the biggest reasons why the offensive line. I'm not gonna say one of the biggest reasons why the offensive line has taken a step back so much the last few games. Because if you guys remember against Cal, we had a little bit of success running the ball against Cal and things like that. Saw some good stuff. I wanted to build upon that, but it's been downhill pretty much since that in back-to-back weeks. And it's just shuffling the offensive line and Atkins pretty much trying to figure out the guard play. Like I said, Richie Leonard, unfortunately, he's out for a season-ending injury. It's going to take a red shirt and be back next year. But you got, even with Richie being out, you should be able to be fine in the run game, so to speak, because you have experienced guys. Those starts I was talking about, you got guys that's played a lot of football behind him. So you have Ferguson as well, the guard transfer from the University of Alabama, Keandre Jones, the transfer from Auburn. Like I said, these guys have played some snaps, especially Keandre Jones, been a redshirt senior, so they haven't been getting it done. Excuse me. So you have Atkins trying to figure out and manage lineups. I think we had Otto, the red shirt freshman. I think he started the game, if I'm not which I'm okay with the younger guy like that starting and getting reps. And I feel like Otto has potential. He's a big body, around 6'5", 320 plus. Just needs snaps and be coached up and more experience. But it should really come to that point within the offensive line. Darius Washington was even entrusted within the guard position at one point. Hell, we had put early at left tackle, and Washington was at a guard position, and 63 Byers was at the right tackle position. So just funky lineups within the offensive line trying to make things fit, and it's just not working at all. We averaged literally 1 yard per rushing attempt. 1 yard per rushing attempt. So, and also we had bad snaps as well. Mo Smith hasn't been consistent. He had like 3 bad snaps that really were some drive killers in certain situations, putting us in bad situations with the bad snaps. as far as just getting behind the sticks, and that's something you don't want to do with a young quarterback. You want to make things as smooth as possible for the young quarterback, and that's something we didn't do. We didn't make things easy for Brock Glenn, which makes his performance even that more kind of impressive to me, because it was a get it out of the mud, a tough damn performance back against the wall type of deal, and he answered the bell. We'll get to the quarterback play in a little bit, and even from a defensive standpoint, which we'll get to later down the line, they didn't really help Brock Glenn out as well to, take the load off his shoulders a little bit in regards to the situation he was playing with. You saw it last year for the Florida game, the ACC championship, and things like that. Once Trav went out due to injury, others around the defense in certain areas and certain positions, the running backs, they stepped up to try to take up for that slack in regards to missing your Heisman candidate in Jordan Travis. Well, yeah, the offensive line clearly isn't getting it done. It hasn't been getting it done, and you got to take a look at the offensive line coach, Coach Atkins. Man, I'm a fan of Coach Atkins and things like that, but it hasn't been getting done. You would think that coming back from the 3-game suspension, that things a little better. They haven't. Things have regressed, and we're in year 5 with this as far as the offensive line. There's no reason for the offensive line to performing this bad in regards to the season thus far, especially with all the hype that came in within the offensive line. Was supposed to be the strength of the offense. Overall, it was supposed to be the best position group. Let's move on to Brock Glenn and talk about the quarterback situation and how that played out. But before we do that, make sure you guys like this video. The guys that's in the chat right now watching, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button. Let's tap in and talk a little bit. All right, speaking about the quarterback situation, I was really impressed with what I had seen from Brock Glenn. I liked it a lot. Brock played with a lot of guts. I like what I saw from Brock Glenn, and it's going to raise some questions in regards to how late. But we had 2 touchdowns. You saw it was a couple throws you want to have back, like the interception. I think it was Hakeem Williams, if I'm not mistaken, who he was trying to throw to in that play. He actually could have had him for a touchdown if he would have put it in a better spot. But overall, like I said, with some throws you have to have back. But he pushed the ball downfield, which you'd like to see a lot. His mobility, that was probably the main thing. His mobility in the pocket, extending plays, making something out of nothing. A lot of situations yesterday that kind of, Brock extended plays and got out of would have been sacks under DJU in previous games. Offensive line wasn't that bad in pass pro, though. I will say that. Scrambled and things like that. It was a we were 4 for 4 on 4th downs. And it was one scramble in particular, the drive where we scored that touchdown, the last touchdown of the game, going into that 4th quarter. It was a scramble drill, and pretty much the pocket broke down. Nobody was really open, and Brock just went and made a damn play, man. 4th and 9, ran around the edge, lowered his shoulder, and just showed some juice, like he showed some want to, show that how bad he wanted to win, and just how much he's willing to lay it on the line for the win, man. So that, for me, that said a lot, and I think it should have, motivated his teammates around him and things like that, especially the defense, but we'll get to that in a second. But again, you saw that play for me was like, okay, yeah, we may have something with this kid. He has something. He has a spark. He clearly wants to win this game. And also you see the confidence, right? Brock, even though it's his 3rd start, he looked confident during the game. He was speaking with the teammates, communicating, things like that. Just, he looked like a guy that was kind of in control, which I admire and respect and was kind of shocked by. But at the same time, you kind of look at how DJU has looked thus far within the season. You don't see that confidence. You haven't seen that confidence at all. You haven't seen that swag, so to speak. That's pretty much what it is. Brock had a swag about himself last night, and it showed. Simple as that. And yeah, I respected that a lot, and it kind of rubbed off on the team in certain situations. But I do like what I've seen from Brock Glenn. Just moving on to the running backs. Well, not necessarily move on to the running backs. Let's have another conversation. So Brock had a QBR of 78.7, which is the highest on the season that we've seen thus far. So the questions have been asked. And the questions will continue to be asked as far as why wasn't this done earlier? And cool, we could talk about practice and things like that. I get it, but at the same time, I told you guys after like week 2, um, from a season goal perspective, things were pretty much done and lost. Excuse me, sorry about that. From a season goal perspective, things was pretty much lost as far as ACC championship playoffs, all that type of things, etc. So you don't have your 2024 season didn't go as expected. So you got to build for the 2025 season and start looking for the future. And you have a quarterback who's not tied to FSU past the 2024 season, and the 2024 season is pretty much done, right? At that point in time. So you want to see what you got in the younger guys just to see, okay, as far as the 25 season, what things you could build on as far as moving forward the program, which guys stand out, which guys you feel like could be cornerstones, and just do as far as you see your quarterbacks, and you see if you need to do another situation as far as going to the transfer portal, or you got a guy that you can stick with and develop him. But again, this raised a lot of damn criticism in regards to how this kid performed and what we've been seeing, because there's no way in hell that FSU, if Brock Glenn starts the season, FSU wouldn't have been 1-4 going into Clemson. Without question, we would have not been 1-4 going into the Clemson game. I don't believe that at all. Hell, College Game Day would have likely been in Tallahassee this past weekend, which was the season. If you look at how the season was set up preseason wise, that was the goal, so to speak. This game here is supposed to be a 5-0, so to speak, a 4-0, a 5-0, a 5-0 FSU, a 4-1 Clemson, only lost to Georgia, ACC clash, this, that, and the third. It was a Clemson fan, just to kind of give you a perspective on that. It was a Clemson fan that was sitting next to me that said he bought his tickets to the preseason. Him and his wife, and they were $300 a piece as far as the tickets. The value of the tickets last night were $30. So again, I don't think FSU would be 1-4 going into this game if Brock Glenn had started. So that raised the question as far as, and just looking looking now, and I know it's early and there's only one game, but shit, don't take a damn transfer portal quarterback and just take your lumps and develop your redshirt freshman quarterback. It's a rebuild year. Then that goes back to Mike as far as the mismanagement of the roster, which he greatly overvalued, in my opinion, as far as what he had on the roster. Because you see these guys every day. You see, you win them every day. You see spring meetings, this, that, and the third. I don't know how you could feel like this team wouldn't take a step back with seeing them day in and day out, as far as from last year to this year. We know we lost a lot of NFL players, but it seemed like confidence and just the wording within the program, direct quotes from Mike in regards to, this is the biggest, fastest, and strongest team I ever had, and this, that, and the third. So that just goes to him as far as, I'm not sure, do you know what it looks like? What are we really evaluating? But I say that to say this. With what we see with this team as far as coming back and things like that, I'm going with Brock Glenn and rock with him for this 2024 season. Take your lumps. Hell, like I said, you go 8-4 with Brock Glenn, which was absolutely possible in my opinion if you put all your eggs in his basket and invest in him and things like that, and then give him the full reins in spring, full reins over the summer, full reins in fall camp. 8-4 to 100% been attainable within the season, and that's something you can sell and build on for the 2025 season with the young guys that's played. Speaking of young guys, let's stay with the quarterback real quick. So it's been a conversation on Twitter and things like that as far as the same mistake twice. Kind of going back to like I said, we wouldn't be 1-4 if Brock Glenn started the season. Go back to the 2021 season, we started 0-4, right, with Mackenzie Milton, the transfer quarterback, and we had Jordan Travis, who just needed the time. So I'm not saying Brock is going to be trash, but pretty much he needed the time to develop and just get those reps and make the plays and make those mistakes and go to the player that we've seen to be Jordan Travis. So is Mike making the same mistake twice as far as not reading the room or not seeing the potential growth and just undervaluing his own roster as far as what can be and what guys can develop into, granted given the opportunity and given the reps. It's fair criticism in my opinion because it does kind of seem mirror image. But again, that's on Mike. He definitely, in my opinion, Brock should have been starting based off what I seen yesterday. It's just night and day. And it's not just from the throws he made. It's just from a confidence standpoint. He looks completely different from Dan DJU, and I think some of the guys respond to it. And just the mobility as well, able to move around in the pocket and extend plays and be pretty creative. But I like what I saw from Brock. Like I said, I do think Clemson is probably, from a talent standpoint, I told you guys this in the last show, probably the best team we'll see for sure. From a defensive talent standpoint, in my opinion, Notre Dame is kind of close. I think Clemson has that edge. Cal has a damn good defensive secondary as well, but nothing that Brock has to see moving forward. So he can just build on this and get better. Let's talk about some young guys. Free the youngins a little bit. Let's talk about free the youngins. The tight end position. I really love what I saw from the young tight ends. Really love what I saw from the young tight ends. Matter of fact, let's back up a little bit. I don't want to go get too far here, and I don't want to overlook this. I feel sorry for Lawrence Philly, man. I keep telling you guys, as far as he has 15 touches a game. Well, how terrible this offensive line has been playing, it just hasn't been there. And speaking of one that Brock misses, I think it was on the Ja'Kai Douglas. He had a pass interference, if I'm not mistaken. On Brock threw a ball to Ja'Kai Douglas, and he had a pass interference. If he would have looked to his right, he had Lawrence Philly wide open. And we talk about the wheel route, right, which has been bread and butter for FSU and Lawrence Philly. Lawrence Philly ran. People ask why has Mike kind of gone away from it. If you watch the games, Mike really hasn't gone away from the wheel route to Lawrence Philly. We just haven't been throwing it to it. Now, I guess you could say from a coach perspective, you can let your quarterbacks know, hey, this needs to be one of the reads, because it was a crazy situation where FSU is pretty much a mirror image to what Miami and Darrell Jackson did in 2022 for FSU. We had Lawrence Philly on the wheel route, lined up against Peter Woods, their defensive end. And Peter Woods isn't your typical defensive end. He's a bigger body, 300-pound defensive end. So Lawrence Philly walks in for a touchdown if Brock Glenn throws that wheel route to Lawrence Philly. But he was locked in on Ja'Kai Douglas. He didn't really scan the field and see what it was. But Lawrence Philly was matched up one-on-one on a wheel route with a defensive end. He walks into the end zone. Like I said, we end up getting a pass interference call on that play. But just certain things like that have been missed. But I do feel bad for Lawrence Philly as far as just bad offensive line play. Mike not really scheming anything for him in the passing game as well, consistently. That I just really feel for him as far as a kid as, been through the trenches as far as the program and had a hell of an ACC championship and would have put a cap on a pretty good career for a running back at FSU. But I do feel for my guy Lawrence Philly. So moving on to the freshmen, like I said, Freedom Youngins, the tight ends were damn good. Landon Thomas had seven. He led FSU in receiving with 7 catches for 80 yards. You'd like to see that, right? You kind of saw it last week after the egregious drop by Kyle Morlock that led to the opening half, I guess you could say, touchdown for SMU once they returned within our red zone. And pretty much after that, we've been playing the freshmen. Landon Thomas and Amari Williams both played in SMU last week, with Landon Thomas getting his first career touchdown. And then he flipped to this week, and Amari Williams, the 17-year-old true freshman who still should be in high school at this point in time. Shout out to those guys that's been doing that, like Ryan Williams, Amari, even Marno Blunt down in Miami. That's not easy to do. But so he ended up catching his first career touchdown as well on, a nice pass by Brock, and it was a hell of a catch by Amari Williams. So you see the future is bright within that tight end room. Those two can be very good weapons for FSU with Landon Thomas and Amari Williams. You see why Thomas was the number 1 tight end for the majority of the recruiting cycle while he was in high school. Really like building on that. So you saw Landon Thomas, you saw Amari Williams, Mekhi Danzey as well. I like what I saw, what they were trying to drop with Mekhi Danzey. He did drop that one pass, but that play again, that wheel route, it shit was drawn up perfectly by Mike, but that was wide open multiple times within the game. So, and I really love the creativity by Mike because it put Makai Dansley's speed on display. And I want to give a shout out to Makai Dansley's family as well. His mother was at our tailgate with us, hanging out. Rob Deloach, Kaden Deloach's father, man, appreciate you guys for coming out and kicking it with us pregame for the tailgate, enjoying some good vibes, good conversation, food and drinks. But yeah, so pretty much Mike motion. We had Makai Dansley on the opposite side of the field. That receiver ended up motioning him across the field to get him a head start, full steam on the wheel route. So pretty much we'll motion him, and Makai is bolting, jetting full speed across the field. We snap the ball. He's bending at the corner on the wheel route. So pretty much the track speed we've seen, and like running damn 200-meter. He's round the curve, and he's building up his speed going around the curve, having the wheel route, and he had it open all day. I mean, when I'm talking about for touchdowns, like he was killing those defensive backs from that speed. I think Mike ran it 3 times. 2 times Brock missed it, didn't have the time to throw it because the offensive line pressure. It is a slow developing play. You have to have a good pass protection. Don't get me wrong. A couple times we didn't have the time to get it to him. The one time we did throw it, Brock, and the one he dropped, it was an underthrow for Brock. If Brock was able to lead him, he walks in for a possible touchdown, but he ended up even still having a chance to make the catch, but dropping the ball in the process. I'm okay with that 100%. I want to see those guys play. We've been talking about Frida Youngins, and they're moving within that direction. So we had Landon Thomas play, Amari Williams, Makai Dance, like we just stated, Cam Davis as well. He's been playing pretty much all year. We even seen LaWayne McCoy get in as far as a little bit of some receiver reps. So we saw, Cam, LaWayne, Dance. That's 5 true freshmen pretty much that played some good snaps for FSU last week. I think FSU will kind of build on that because you see drops by the receivers. So like when I said we didn't make it easy for Brock, we had drops, bad offensive line play at a certain position, bad snaps, and not giving Brock like second and manageable situations, third and manageable situations, and also play calling as well. I blame some of that on Mike, which I kind of get into the wrap up the offense fully. But again, and Elijah Moore, I'm gonna get Elijah Moore in as well. The reason I say that because you have Tron. He ended up Keytron Portier. He ended up dropping the pass. A great throw by Brock Glenn. If he catches that, even though it was a holding call, they got called back, but he catches that. Say you wipe away the holding, he catches that and on stride, he's still running for about another 20 yards. But he bobbled it a little bit and still dropped it on the sideline. Williamson it's repeat after repeat. We see multiple times you get chances and you drop the ball. So again, ended up getting behind a great deep ball on the post, ended up getting behind the defensive back and just misjudged the ball and ended up making it awkward and dropped that ball. So if we're giving snaps to Williamson, but I think we're kind of moving towards that direction with the remainder of the season. But I want to see Elijah Moore take them reps. Excuse me. If we're going to have those type of drops, I'd rather Elijah Moore, who's been making circus catches that we've seen, have those type of drops. Put him in that situation to catch those balls and not catch those balls. Not a fifth-year senior that we've seen over and over again not make it happen. So again, I think we are kind of going in that direction, but I don't want to give me Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore should be taking 21 snaps if he's getting snaps on the field. And Keytron Portier, he's been inconsistent, but he's made some good plays for us as well. So I do understand why having him on the field. Hakeem Williams, I like what I saw from Hakeem as well. Had like 50 yards receiving. I think we need to feed Hakeem more. Get him involved more within the passing game, target him more. He's done some good things the last couple games. I think he should be moving forward. Probably, I wanted to go to receivers, him and Ja'Kai Douglas. Those should be the guys that you move forward with as far as getting the most targets from a receiver perspective. And so we're talking about some young guys, right? Hakeem Williams is a true sophomore. Brock Glenn is a redshirt freshman. Now, just named all the true freshmen that played as well. So Otto is a redshirt freshman on the offensive line. So some young guys the room, within the offensive room that you could build with for the future. There's some talent within that, with some young talent within the offensive room. So there's some things you could build for the 2025 season within the offense. Some really young guys that you saw some good things for that you could kind of, like I said, build for and plan for within those guys. We're just speaking about the play calling in Mike Norvell. It was the 3rd and 2 before the half. That we had, and we was kind of in a position to score before the half and get the ball back at halftime. But it was we ran a receiver screen, which I keep telling you guys, I don't know why the hell we keep running those receiver screens. We shouldn't run those screens at all. Is getting sickening. But we ran a receiver screen, and and they ended up stuffing it. It was a couple times where Clemson could have had some pick sixes on those screens, but that wasn't good. We were 4 for 16 on third downs. That's just not good football. You can't win. And the reason we were pretty much 4 for 16 on third downs is it was just a situation, right? We'll have a bad snap here, or we will have stalemates in regards to running the football, and it's 3rd and long. I wish I had a breakdown of how many of those 16 were 3rd and 6 and plus. I'm gonna get that number for you guys for my next live show with Larry on, just to kind of put a little bit things in perspective. But 4 for 16 on third downs. I do want to know how many was 3rd and long situations, holding penalties and things like that. I keep telling you guys, we keep shooting ourselves in the foot, and we're not a good enough football team to overcome shooting ourselves in the foot in certain situations. So that's part of the reason why we made it hard for Brock too. Let's move on to the defense. Want to jump into it, not going to take too long on the defense, man. It's just ridiculous. But we gave up 500 yards of offense to the Clemson Tigers. 265 rushing yards to the Clemson Tigers. Phil Maffa had 25 touches, 154 yards. He averaged 6.2 per carry. We gave up 6.2 yards per carry to a running back that had 25 touches. Cade Clubley had 62 rushing yards. I see that. He's part of the Red Sea. Like, look at that hole. This play here is literally right after, like I said, Brock had a hell of a drive to get us to score that 13 point. I get why Norvell went for 2. If he goes for 2, we're down versus the 1. If we went for 1, we'd have been down 9 points, which was still 2 scores. He goes for 2, we're down 8. We're down pretty much a 1 possession score against Clemson. Just have to go for the 2-point conversion again. But again, so Brock Glenn had that 4th and 9 run that, like I said, should have motivated the team and galvanized the team. Specifically the defense. That should have motivated the defense. It was a long drive, and that's crazy. I was in the stands saying, "All right, defense, you was well rested. It was a long drive. Let's go." But it was a long drive this, that, and the third. And after the guts that Brock Glenn showed, being down 9 points, you would try to, want to galvanize things, get hyped up, and try to get a stop and get off the field. The first play of that drive, we have a 50, and they could have pretty much killed the momentum in Doak. We had a 50-plus yard run from Phil Maffa, and you see the hole there. So I say that to say this, man, like our $1 million defensive line hasn't played like $1 million, right? These guys just haven't been good. It's not consistent. It's not consistent within the defensive line. It was running lanes pretty much open all day for Phil Maffa. The guys just pretty much got bullied up front. Clemson did what they had to do, and that's just ridiculous. And it kills me because like that many rushing yards at Florida State, it just shouldn't happen at all. It literally shouldn't happen. We had no pass rush. Cade pretty much had all day to throw. We had 1 sack in the game, and that sack came from the linebacker Cam Riley. So we weren't getting anything in the pass rush as well. Like I said, Cade pretty much had all day to throw, and also he had running lanes open too as well. But that's my biggest issue: 265 rushing yards. When you have more rushing yards than passing yards, if you give up more rushing yards than passing yards as a defense, like you got bullied in that game pretty much. You got bullied. And I hear people that like to talk about, oh, it was Ben. We only gave up 29 points. It was Ben and don't break. Granted, I get that. But 29 points isn't enough. clearly isn't enough for FSU to win, right? We haven't scored. We scored over 21 times this year against Georgia Tech, and that was 21. So 29 points is enough to win for FSU. And granted, yes, 29 points, but they could have easily had 35 points on those field goals that we blocked. Shout out to Coach Pap, the field goal unit, special teams in general. Man, that field goal block unit is fucking legit. Like, it's very good. They do a good job of creating pressure and getting blocks, man. Shout out to those guys. They've been doing it for the past 3 years. And even if they're not getting a block, it's in the special teams, the not hands team. I'm sorry. It's on the field goals unit mind, the O-line, they're blocking, the kicker, this, that, and the third. It's on their mind just from the pressure that you guys are creating. So great job by Coach Pap, the field goal block team, to block two kicks. But again, so that's 6 points. That's 35 points that could have been left on the field. And also, it's just not about scoring points, right? It's field position, flipping the field, and things like that. It was times where we had Clemson bottled up within the 10-yard line, so to speak, and then they flipped the field when you want to have good field position in regards to getting off the field early and having your young quarterback starting in a good situation, right? So that goes back to what I was saying about we didn't really do Brock Glenn any favors at all in regards to the game. Play calling, we really didn't do any favors. Offensive line, of course, didn't do any favors. Run game, penalties, bad snaps, defense really not giving you good field positions and things like that. We made the game harder than it should have been for Brock Glenn, and he still made certain plays. So that's what I mean by the totality of things as far as, yeah, you're not really giving up the points, but you're giving up so many yards, like field position and things like that. It gets shifted, and you have, starting bad field position for the offense. And you talk about a struggling offense as it is, and a redshirt freshman young quarterback playing his first start in the season against a very good defense. From a secondary standpoint, I didn't really have too many issues how those guys played overall. 19 to 33 for Cade, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns. Hell, if you take away that 50-yard touchdown in the first quarter that Conrad Hussey gave up, that should have been I don't understand. That should have been an interception for sure. Cade pretty much has less than 200 yards passing. 19 to 33 wasn't really that efficient. It was a couple series where we had some guys open, but again, that play by Conrad Hussey was egregious, and it wasn't an issue from Fentrell Cyphers in that play. Although Fentrell was kind of up and down within the game, but that play specifically, it was zone coverage. Fentrell was over the top of the post. And Conrad Hussey, which should have been, like I said, Cade gave us one with that throw. He gave us one. That should have been an interception going the other way. He was completely out of position and got turned around. And then even when he turned around, he did the BS shoulder stuff he's been doing pretty much all year and not wrapping up. And damn near not damn near, he ended up taking Fentrell Cyphers out of the play with that recklessness. So it just hasn't been good for Conrad Hussey this year. He's been downhill. Even on punt team, it was a situation where Clemson had a pretty big punt return, and Conrad Hussey just ran directly past the punt returner with no fair catch or anything like that. I'm not sure what he was looking at, what made him do it. He didn't break down anything in front of the punt returner to proceed, to stop him from, having forward progress with the punt return. Just ran right by him, and the kid took the punt return for about 20 yards or so. But again, it's just, I will say I was encouraged to see KJ Kirkland start instead of Conrad Hussey this game because of how he performed last week. I want to give the staff a little bit of accountability for that. I guess some points for that accountability as far as making sure that he wasn't, you're not rewarded for that for bad plays. But in KJ Kirkland, even though he did get ran over by Phil Maffa, he's been playing pretty well. I think redshirt freshman, we have something to build with him for sure. But yeah, so he ended up getting ran over by Phil Maffa, and he came down perfectly, but didn't continue to come down. Ended up stopping and chopping his feet in that regard. And at that point in time, Phil Maffa is 230, and he's building that shit up, and he's rolling. So at that point in time, it could get ugly. So if he keeps coming down, continue this momentum down, keeps running through and bite the hip, you don't really let Phil Maffa build up to that and be able to steamroll you. But I mean, it's football, it happens. But I do like what I saw from KJ Kirkland overall. Him and Shaheem Brown should be the starting safeties for sure. But it's disappointing because if you look at last year, Conrad had a lot of potential and you thought that, things were on the up and up for him. But again, 6 for 15 on third down. I'm still too hot, too much for me. We weren't able to get off the field. And it was third and long situations as well, to which we just converted. It was a 3rd and 14 specifically that's in my head that Clemson converted. But 500 yards of total offense is just unacceptable at FSU, and 265 rushing yards is egregious, but that defensive line has to answer for it, man. You guys had all of the hype coming into the season. I hype you guys up. Every media outlet hype you guys up. NFL draft models hype you guys up as well. You guys haven't performed to that level. Let's just keep it real. 265 yards rushing. You had the Red Sea party on certain runs. No pass rush whatsoever. No sacks. It was disappointing. But I do want to give credit too as well. I was hard on him from the first game against Georgia Tech because of his performance. It was a bad performance as far as the linebacker. But Omar Graham Jr. played a pretty damn good game against Clemson. Led the team in tackles. He played a pretty damn good game. I want to give a shout out to Omar Graham as far as bouncing back from early season struggles. He looked pretty good against Clemson. I will give him respect as far as that. Good game for Omar Graham. But overall, though, just some things you can build on. I'm excited to see the younger guys on offense. I really want to see what they could do, keep building on that, and see what we can do with Brock. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and open these phone lines up a little bit. Probably got another 15 minutes or so that we're going to kick it with, and then we'll open the phone line up and get some guys going and see what you guys' thoughts are. So make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel. Like and subscribe, please. If you haven't, got about 70 or so people here right now. Go ahead and hit that like button right now. It takes 2 seconds. Show a little love. Yeah, if you want to join the show, hop in. Demetrius Shaw, see your comment real quick. Do I think a lot of guys might transfer? Possibly. It is what it is. I think some guys probably do need to transfer, but we'll see how that plays out. We're at the 5th game of the season. We haven't really seen guys that opted out. Like you see guys around the country trying to preserve that 4-game red shirt. We haven't seen that thus far within our guys. We're already past that. We're at the 5th game now. So we're probably good for that window, but we'll see how it plays out. But you got to understand too, it is a what have you done for you lately type of game. A what have you done for you lately type of situation. A lot of these high school rankings and things don't really carry over. It's what you put on tape, and you are who you are as far as you put on tape. And there hasn't been a lot of good tape for FSU. So some guys may leave, but I don't think the opportunities for a lot of people won't be what they think they would be as far as, the market for FSU guys within the transfer portal. We've been losing. Guys haven't been playing well. There's been some bad film out there. I mean, maybe some coaches feel like, hey, these guys weren't coached that good. I could probably coach a little and get more potential out of them, this, that, and third. But that's interesting. I don't really. It'd be interesting to see. Let's put it that way. I don't think the market will be how people think the market will be for certain players, though. I will say that. And I'm also disappointed. When I say disappointed, we're kind of concerned why Earl Little hasn't really been able to get on the field as well. There's been a lot of hype about him coming in as well. Saw some good things in a few practices that I were a part of. But it's just kind of interesting to see why Earl Little hasn't really taken that step to get in and make enough impact in practice to get some snaps within the game. But again, if you guys want to join the show, go ahead and hit that link. Got to hear from y'all. George, what's good?
What's up, man? Can you hear me?
You hear me? Oh, we had George on for a second. We'll try to get him back going. Anybody else want to join in? Let's go. Want to get the conversation. We'll probably go to about 11:30 or so. If nobody wants to join in, we'll wrap the show up and call it one. Yeah, let us know. George, you there? You there? George.
No, the market for guys, for FSU guys, still attractive.
George, you there?
I can't hear you for some reason. I'm just going to pop out. I don't know what's going on with my phone. But the question that I had, you brought it up on the show a little bit with the staff and the recruiting that's going to have to happen. I think there's so many parallels to 2021 when you had Mackenzie Milton, you weren't playing Jordan Travis. You go 0-4, and then it's forced to, we're going with Jordan Travis now because Mackenzie Milton had a bad leg. There's rumors about a bad leg from DJU in camp. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what big boosters are talking about. It's not something we were ever allowed to report on. So changes have to be made to the staff, as you alluded to, but you've got to try to keep the recruiting class together because December 4th is the signing day. I truly believe they could make minimal changes or keep the staff together, win 10 games next year, and play for a title in 26. The same type of thing, but that's not acceptable at Florida State. The changes have to come to where you can compete every year. So how are they going to, it's walking a tightrope, but I mean, it's their fault. But just curious on your thoughts on how they fix that. Appreciate you for having me.
No, I appreciate the comment, George. Appreciate you for joining. But no, these changes are necessary and imminent. They have to be done, especially for what we want to do. So we can't be nearsighted, right? You want to look farsighted and look for the future and things like that. This recruiting class is going to be L. That's what it is. Now, I do think we're going to keep certain key guys for this recruiting class from a high school standpoint. I do think that's going to happen 100%. But we've seen the decommits we've had already. It's already a small class. We're going to add some guys to this class, but it's not going to be a top 10 type of class. But there will be some quality guys within this class. But if you make changes in the off season and you hire recruiters, hire guys that can recruit, hire guys that can coach and develop, hire off-field staff that can actually recruit. Off-field, that's very important as well. You got to make some changes to the off-field staff as well. So hire recruiters, bring talent in, hire guys who are relentless on the trail, hire guys who have relationships, hire guys who relate to these high school kids within this day and age, hire guys who love to recruit, hire guys off field that love to recruit, have those relationships, this, that, and the third. So again, if you do that, then you can move forward for the future and you can salvage certain things. Now, granted, we're going to be big in the portal this year. We know that 100% just from the simple fact of we have to, right? So you can have these freshman high school guys for this 2025 class and have a decent portal class to kind of supplement that for a 2025 output. But again, you have certain pieces already on the roster that you could build with. Bring some more plugs in, and you have those guys on staff recruit, and bring that talent in, the real talent that we should have at FSU on a consistent basis, and then shit will be fine. You'll be winning those games, just that and the third. You'll be smooth sailing. You'll do everything you will need to do to compete at FSU and compete on the national stage and, have the standard be the standard. So it's going to be a lump, so to speak, this year because it's just some shit we can't avoid. But again, that's for this year. But if you make the changes after this season, you could be fine moving forward. My guy KP, what's good? Talk to me.
Yes. The Tiny Hat CEO has returned
My
to
guy.
DoakTalk, baby. What is going on, CJ? How you doing, bro?
I'm good, bro. I'm good, bro. Talk to me. How you feeling?
Man,
I'm encouraged a little bit and disappointed at the same time because the shit could have been. We made this shit so much fucking harder than what it should be. But I do like what I saw from the youngins.
oh, 1,000%. Listen, I came on your show after we saw that travesty over there in Ireland. I told you that I wanted a youth movement back then. I said if they come out here looking like pure ass bouncing on camera against BC, I want all seniors yanked off the field, and I want to see all of the young boys, freshmen and sophomores. And you laughed at me, CJ. You laughed at me. You said KP want a youth movement already. You laughed at me.
After
You
year
know
one,
what?
yeah, I'm not the game one. I agree. Yeah, after game one, yeah,
hey,
already.
and
And you
sure
was
enough,
right, bro, 100%.
hey, bro, and the wild part about it is, I'm with you on this. I'm encouraged because I saw the young bucks get out there and they got their shine. I'm cool with that. We gonna live with the bumps and bruises. But what we saw last night, it pissed me off more than anything about the staff, because there's no reason that we sitting on our couches watching this on the sideline and we saying, nah, this ain't it. Let's just go ahead and tear this down and keep it moving. And we okay with that as a fan base. But the coaches are sitting here saying that they trying to take it game by game. We still got a shot at. If your own fan base is saying, listen, y'all sold us a big bag of lies, and it's okay, just get these motherfuckers off our field so that we can go ahead and let these young bucks get this burn. We more worried about the progression of the program moving forward. Then you got to go ahead and rip that Band-Aid off and keep it moving. We watched
Right.
Brock go out there and sling that rock around. We knew he was going to throw the ball deep because we saw him do it against Georgia. That UGA
Yeah.
defense.
That was the thing. That was the thing that. Sorry for cutting you off, bro. That was the thing that
Mhm.
encouraged me about him in the Georgia game. Was versus the ACC championship. He wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
He was done in the ACC. I think it was the stage was a little bit bright. It was a big stage from the ACC championship, and
Mm-hmm.
he was really hesitant as far as pushing the ball. The Georgia game, he was letting that bitch rip, and I was like, okay, I can live with that.
Facts. That boy was like, "Nah, I'm finna let this ball fly," and we saw it last night. He had the one interception, but if you watch that again, Keem turned around and started tapping himself on the chest, saying, "No, that's my fault," because he knew he ran the wrong route. So when
Mhm.
you looking at the game itself, Brock letting the ball go, he hitting receivers in the hand, he hitting them in stride, and it looked like Brock was like, "Yo, let's open up this playbook and let's get it going." And this is, again, this goes back to what I was saying. These coaches have failed us miserably as a fan base, has failed this team as just a program in general. These young bucks have been saying that they ready to go. Did we seen these seniors out here on the field, these super seniors out here on the field just stink up the whole joint, but these young boys was ready this whole time. And what I saw from Mike last night, he had some play calling that I was like, I need me an OC at this point. I'm just over that. I need me an actual play calling OC at this point. But I saw Mike call a few plays where he was
Yeah,
getting the ball out quick. He was allowing
yeah,
the
I
receivers
agree.
to make them slants. He even had the plays where the tight ends, the decent tight ends that we got, the young boys, could actually catch the
Mhm.
ball and do something with it. I'm glad that I
Mhm.
ain't see 84, oh, was it 85 on my field no more. All right, Mike. So you finally listening to what the Tiny Hat CEO telling you out here. It only took you,
Mhm.
what, 6 games to get it done? But I mean,
Right.
damn. And that's my problem with it. Mike is Mike is the CEO of this thing. Mike need to go out here and do what's best for the program at this point. He shouldn't have had to have DJ go down for him to be forced to make that change. We saw this. We should have had every single one of these young cats that went out there, gave that effort, went out there and went and tried to fight for that victory. This should have been a third game with that experience. They should have had that game against they should have had the game against Memphis. They should have had that SMU game. They should have also had the Cal game under their belt before they went up against probably the best defense that we gonna see all season long. Mike failed them boys, and when we saw this, Clemson don't look like no world beaters to me. They look all
No.
right, but if we saw our true freshmen go out here and give them boys hell, Clemson don't look like no world beaters. We could have been able to come out here and get them boys a better game than what we saw out here. The defense, Fuller got to see me in these streets. I catch him. I'm just gonna throw him some gloves. I ain't even gonna wait for him to put them on. I'm gonna hit him with that Floyd Mayweather. Bop. Hey, protect yourself at all times, bro. That's what he catching out of me. So I ain't worried about that. And the rest of these coaches out here, I heard the caller that came on before said, well, we might want to keep these coaches on to salvage this recruiting class. You outside your damn mind. I don't want to see. I don't give a damn if this recruiting class go into the 100. I don't care if we out here recruiting with Army and Navy at this point. Get all these motherfuckers off my staff. I don't want none of them over there. The only coaches right now that we hanging on to are named Norvell and Sertan. That's it. And if the coaches that he bringing in can't go out here and sell playing time to young people, hey, look, I don't want to hear it. You ain't no real recruiter if you can't go out here and say, hey, look, we putting the young cats out here. You can come out here and get this early playing time. Come get this NIL bread and build Florida State back up to where we saw it was 2 years ago. That if you can't get out there and sell that on the trail, then I don't need you on my staff at all. Get all of these bums off my staff right now. This don't make no damn sense. No sense. So outside of that, I like what I saw to Brock. I like what I saw to Landon Thomas. I like what I saw to Mari Williams. I like what I saw. Keem caught a couple of nice balls. I don't want to see one on my field no more. He need to go somewhere. I don't want to see the other wide receiver on my field
Only
no
one.
more. Who's that? I don't even want to call their
Lewis.
names. Yeah, I don't want to even call their names. You don't even get a last name out of me. All right, you don't get a last name out of it. They are still on the list of no females in tally should even look in your general direction until you can get me 3 catches and more than 80 yards on the field as a wide receiver, as a senior wide receiver. You get no ass in tally. We putting the ban on that on every single one of these bums out here until you can produce on the field. That's what I'm saying at this point. It don't make no damn sense. So I don't want to see no more seniors out there. I like when I saw Luane McCoy get out there. I like when I saw Elijah get out there. I don't want to see nobody on that field that is not that is older than a true sophomore. Get them out of here. Get them out of here. I can live with the O-line was absolute ass bouncing around on camera. Hell, they even screwed us over real bad. They called a holding play because our offensive guard got mashed on his back so bad that it looked like he pulled the damn Clemson defensive lineman down. The ACC refs are pure and utter garbage. We saw how they just screwed Cal last night, and they literally said, we're going to call back a nice play that y'all had because your offensive lineman was so garbage that he got mashed onto his back. He got pancake blocked onto his back, and it looked like a hole, so we're going to throw a flag on the play. Oh, no. Hell no. Hell no. Absolutely not. I want to see the young bucks out there. So I was happy with what I saw out of that. We all got hope as a fan base because we can see that this can progress moving forward. But I need some dogs out here on this trail. I need us out here throwing the bread where it needs to be thrown. Because when I saw it on the timeline, they said it's a $13 million roster. They told me this is a $13 million roster.
And the money is being given for this recruiting cycle. Now, granted, money could have been hyped up, well, up in certain positions, for certain players for sure. But
Mm-hmm.
overall, though, the money is pretty solid for an NIL team like this. They just spit bad damn money.
Hey, look, they told me this is a $13 million roster. Well, we need to go out here and start trying to find out and do audits on where this bread was going because it don't make no damn sense for 13 M's to be looking like this on the field. Not along that defensive line, not on that offensive line. I damn sure don't want to see nothing. Now, I want to know where all the bread going. We need to stop payments on some people out here. We need to ask them to go talk to their bank. If they might be out here with the Bank of America or the Chase Bank scam at this point, I might start calling in some people and be like, hey, you might want to investigate this over here because this don't make no damn sense. 13 M's is what we putting on the field, and this is what we looking at. We already see what a $20 million roster look like down there in Coral Gables, and them boys out here struggling with Vatek and with Cal. But they told me that they was going to the ACC title game and they going to the playoffs and they doing this and that and the third. I don't want to hear that at all. I want to see our squad. Our squad. That 13M should have been placed on the players who decommitted and went elsewhere. It looks like we spent our money in the wrong place. They told us we was getting Black Friday prices out here. That's what this looked like. We got Black Friday prices, Black Friday prices on these players, and it's biting us in the ass. Every single one of them toys that we bought from the Five Below done broke, and it's been 3 weeks in. It don't make no damn sense. That's exactly what this is. We got a whole bunch of Five Below specials on this field right now, and it's just like Cat Williams said. Here, you can get 100 toys, and it's gonna cost you $20, or I can get you one toy that costs $100, and you went and broke up all of your damn 100 toys because all of them are cheap as hell. That's what this is. This is a Five Below roster, and I don't know who was out here doing the bargaining shopping, but we really need to go back in and rein this joint in. So I'm with you on this. I was encouraged by the Young Bucks. I'm pissed off at the staff because the staff is making me look even worse out here in these streets. And the only saving grace that I got right now out here as a Florida State fan is that I'm watching a masterful job happen down there in Shamesville or down there in Coral Gables, because that's going to be an epic collapse and they ain't going to know how to deal with it. They done got a little taste of success and them boys is falling off of a bridge. It's going to fall off of a bridge and it's going to be a beautiful sight to see when they start crying. That's it. That's it. So outside of that, I'm with you on this, baby. Tiny Hat Gang, we out.
My boy KP, appreciate you for joining. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up pretty soon, like in a few minutes. But again, we got like 89 people in here, man. Appreciate you guys for joining and kicking it. Go ahead and like this video, man. Go ahead and hit that like button. It doesn't take that much, 1 second, to show a little bit of love. Hit that like button. But I do agree with certain points that KP made, especially about, granted, it was certain play calls with Mike Norvell that I questioned. I do think he still need to go out and get a play calling offensive coordinator. but that offense looked a lot different, and he opened up a lot more things with Brock Glenn. So again, it's still you see the encouraging signs as well from the young guys and the freshmen and the redshirt freshmen, sophomores, whatever it may be, that you could build on offensively and things like that. But at the same time, you still have the frustration and question things because certain stuff could have been happened and you not be in the situation as far as being 1-5. You have more wins on the schedule and you're looking, to still look like a respectable program. But again, appreciate you guys for joining. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Go Noles.